Alright, so this is Competitive Pauper Cast episode. What are we on from? 4?
Episode 4.
Alright, with me is Dan.
Yes, hi guys.
And David.
Hello, everyone.
So we've got a little bit of a different plan for today. We're going to discuss some Theros spoilers. We're gonna talk about a little bit about Pauper Gauntlet and the Pauper Brewers Championships, and then some sweet articles that have come out in the recent week. So, Dan, why don't you go ahead and talk about the Pauper Gauntlet?
As you might know, the Pauper Gauntlet is a race between Pauper decks in the tournament practice room. 47 decks set out on this race, and now only 15 remain. And the Gauntlet goes into round 3 on September the 13th. There is a pause right now, because I'm going away. But 15 decks remain, and I'm sorry, David, but Azorius Kitty was the last one that fell.
Yeah, I saw that. It was there wasn't much you could do about that. He kind of nut drugged you with those auras.
Yeah, it looked like quite a good hex-proof draw there.
Yeah, turn 2 double ethereal armor is kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, that's kind of hard. But the Simic Stormpost is still in the runnings.
All right, well, at least I have one.
Other favorites could be Blue-Black Trinket Control, as I am pretty used to playing that, and Stompy. So check out the YouTube channel, YouTube Magic Gathering Strat, for more about the Pauper Gauntlet. Okay, back to you, Chris.
So, you've been playing the Gauntlet mostly this week, Dan?
I was playing in my second standard Pauper play run event as well, and realized that Flickergate wasn't as overpowered as Temporal Fissure in Classic Pauper, which some people thought. So I O2 dropped it like a boss.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What about you, David? What have you been playing?
I haven't been playing a ton of Magic Online, but I've been doing a lot with my cube and some of my friends in real life. Still just drafting M14, and I've been dinking around with my Goblins deck a little bit too, but the fallback plan of Temporal Fissure decks into like a tempo deck that draws a bunch of cards is actually surprisingly difficult to beat. So when they take out the Temporal Fissures and go into like Mana Wars and Seagate Oracle and fadeaways, it's actually kind of challenging. And the first few opponents must not have known that to do that, or when I played against them I still beat them, but my win rate against them has been slowly decreasing to closer and closer to 500, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So, I played... So, in picking up a Pauper to the People, becoming a host of Pauper to the People, I've been playing some standard Pauper myself. I've been playing Blue-Black Mill, which I think that deck is like almost unbeatable in standard Pauper. It's got so many answers, and I play a lot of the standard Pauper Blue-Black Mill lists run like Mind Sculpt and Dream Twist and stuff like that, and I've just eschewed those and just become a hardcore control deck. My deck is all removal spells, counterspells, and Curse of the Bloody Tomb. So it's much slower than your typical standard Blue-Black Mill deck, but there's no like cards that don't do anything, right? I'm not Mind Sculpting you and hoping to live a turn. I'm Doomblading you and waiting to get a Curse of the Bloody Tomb on.
What do you do if your opponent just like has 4 naturalizes or something?
I have 4 dispels on the side, and I'm running Psychic Strikes, cancels, negates. So
okay, so just like the full gambit of
counter
magic.
Full gambit of counter magic for the naturalizes, and obviously you should play it smart with your curses, because they're your only win cons. So and then in addition to that, I have been losing a ton of daily events. I streamed most of them that you guys can watch on, you can watch on the Twitch channel. But I played man, I played Simic Stormpost and I lost with that, and I played Stompy and I lost with that, and I played Delver and I lost with that. And I was like, we're talking
Ouch.
0-2 and 1-2 drops for like 5 days straight.
Wow.
So, yeah. But on the plus side, to make up for my losses, my brother quit Magic, so I got his entire MTGO collection, which is somewhere in the realm of 100 to 200 tickets.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Unfortunate.
one important thing about your losing streak there, you had quite a crazy good streak before.
I did.
And how many? If you lose 5 dailies in event, five daily events in a row, that's really nothing. It's quite likely to happen to anyone every now and then. So it's just could be a chance.
Yeah. It's important not to get down, but what I did instead, basically just to prove to myself that I was actually still a decent Magic player, was I drafted some M14, and I had quite a bit of success with drafting M14. I don't think I've 1-2'd in an M14 draft yet. I've gone, I did 2 3-0s, I think, and 3 or 4 2-1s with decks that I thought just could not win. But, yeah, so that's what I've been playing as far as Magic goes.
Any more highlights coming? To
There
the
are,
YouTube
and
channel?
I swear I'm going to get to him, Dan. I'm sorry.
Okay. We should do an M14 podcast. I want to talk M14 too, but let's get back to Pauper.
All right, so let's discuss some Theros spoilers. What kind of implications do we have for Pauper from these Theros spoilers?
I remember David talking a lot about the storm, the sort of unknown storm cards. That storm is a mechanic on many cards, and not only on Temporal Fissure and Grapeshot and Empty the Warrens. And David, what do you think about Ground Rift and Heroic?
Which one's Ground Rift? I assume
Ground
that's
Rift
red.
is the one that is used in Elemental combo in Modern. So it's 1 red mana. A target creature can't block this turn.
Oh yeah, I thought so. Actually, I was just reading about that the other day. What do I think about it in general?
With Heroic. Because you can get a
Oh.
huge number of targets on, for example, Wingsteed Rider then. Heroic on Wingsteed Rider means that whenever you cast a spells that targets Wingsteed Rider, put a +1/+1 counter on Wingsteed Rider.
Oh, that's how that works?
Yes, if you
Oh,
storm
insane.
off and cast 15 Ground Rift on him.
That's insane.
And there are other creatures like that too, on common level.
Oh, I didn't realize it stacked like that. That
Yes.
actually makes this a lot more interesting. Well, that one in particular is pretty nuts. I guess with what's the one that gives +1/+2 in Storm, or
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. I don't know the card, but you covered it.
Even bigger buff. Yeah.
It's like a mini grape shot, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, I mean, specifically on the Wingsteed Rider, that card is not like too insane. Like that guy, if you're ever doing something like this, you don't really want to build up because then your opponent's just like Doomblade, and you're like, I worked so hard to just have that Doombladed. So the one that I think would be most interesting with that would be that a Crowan Crusader guy,
Yeah.
especially since it's in the same color as the Ground Rift too. So that turn, if you have the Crusader and your opponent's tapped out, then you can actually build out, which is nice. So you get a ton of 1/1s, and they all have haste, so then you can beat as well. So
True. For the listeners then, a Crowan Crusader, 1 red mana, 1/1, has Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a Crowan Crusader, put a 1/1 red soldier creature token with haste onto the battlefield. So no need for the Bushwalker.
Man, that's like Empty the Warrens right there, right?
yeah, it basically is if you have that
With
guy out,
haste.
and then so you could sort of like build your own Empty the Warrens with Bushwhacker, kind of. I guess you'd still have to get 20 by going Ground Rift with that guy instead of Empty the Warrens with Bushwhacker. So I guess there's something there, maybe.
Yeah, that's a pretty awesome idea for a deck. We'll have to build around that at some point. Anything else catch your eye from here, David? I know you were talking about one specific card on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. The Read the Bones, that card seems insane to me. Like, it's kind of like 4C. Not quite as good, but it's for 3 mana. It's maybe just as good because you get to scry 2. What the card does is black and 2 colorless. Read the Bones is a sorcery, and it's a scry 2, then draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. So this is like an awesome version of Sign in Blood that allows you to dig 4 cards instead of 2, which is already like worth it at 3 mana. But the thing that makes this card really nice is that it's not like 1 black, it's 2 black. So that means that suddenly this card can be played in non-mono black decks. Like Sign in Blood, from a design perspective, was kind of a frustrating card because black had access to card draw, but you pretty much had to be mono black to have it consistently. And Sign in Blood didn't dig deep enough to make me want to play it in a black control deck or black mid-range deck that didn't have blue. Because just drawing 2 cards for 2 life is not that great if you have to also wait to get it on double black. So Read the Bones fixes that because you can now play it in like a black-red, black-white, or black-green deck, and it's easy to cast, lets you dig deep, and it's an awesome card. And I think it gets even better if there's like no Temporal Fissure out there.
Yeah, it gets one of the cool things about being just 1 black mana symbol and its casting cost too is even if you are just a mid-range black deck, if you need a Doomblade like now, you can cast Read the Bones and then have that Doomblade mana left over. So you don't require to tap out on your black mana to draw the 2 cards while you're digging for an answer. Scrying also, of course, means you get to see 4 cards to deliver that Doomblade that you desperately need, versus the Sign in Blood's 2. The downsides of this card that I can see is the 3 casting cost actually sort of puts it in a big competitive spot. Crypt Rats, Chittering Rats, a lot of your 3 drops that you're trying to cast, Trinket Mage. So
you would never play this in a blue deck, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I also think you're right that I wouldn't play this in a mono black deck, really. I mean, I might play 1 or 2. You're probably 2.
Wouldn't you need more card draw in mono black control?
Probably not. But
I would play this over Phyrexian Rager any day.
Yeah, I would probably do that. I might even play this over Sign in Blood. Like if there wasn't already a Glut at the 3-drop spot, this card is probably better than Sign in Blood. Like, because there is a Glut there, it might not be. But what this card does, I think I saw on Twitter someone said, like, is the 1 extra colorless worth the Scry 2? And I think, like, yes, unequivocally yes. Like,
yes.
Scrying 2 is...
I'm not that convinced, actually.
I guess look at, like, how much better is Preordain than, like, 1 blue draw card?
It's a lot better.
Insanely better.
Yeah.
And so this is like if Preordain costs like a blue and a colorless, I don't think it would see play, but that's only because like Brainstorm and Ponder like also exist. But it'd be close. Like, it'd be still a very good card, and I think it would see play in some formats.
But in Trinket, for example, we use for Sign in Blood. We wouldn't use this card because this is too expensive. You have to Sign in Blood into removal often, and then this is just too expensive.
Yeah. One of the things that I've recently leveled up on when I'm playing Control is that I realize if I see more cards, I win more games.
Oh, makes sense.
And this allows me to see more cards at just 1 more mana cost. I mean, really the value.
1 more mana is a lot in Pauper.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Don't let me say it's like. Don't make it sound like I don't want it to make it sound like the extra mana is not like a thing. I just think the extra mana is worth Scry 2. Like, if you tack on an extra, especially with a spell that's like already a draw spell. Like if you tack on, there's another card here that's, let me find it. Like Voyage's End. It's a blue and a colorless instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Scry 1. If that's a Scry 2 or Scry 1, it's still not really worth it because the Scry doesn't really help me all that much. It's like okay, but if you are then drawing cards off the effect, like that's substantially insane. And
Yeah,
so
you get quite deep.
yeah, you get super deep, and you get the cards immediately, the cards you want immediately, as opposed to having to wait for your next draw step.
Yeah.
So, like,
That's
in that unsummon instance, I wouldn't want the extra one, but here I think the extra one is fine. I do agree in your situation, and in some decks, like the mono black deck, Sign of Blood's going to be better because it fits the curve better. For whatever reason, you need the cards more immediately. But I think in general, Read the Bones, like in a vacuum, I think Read the Bones is a better card than Sign of Blood.
Yeah, but it may not be the right fit for, mono black control or rats or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my biggest problem with it too.
I could imagine this would have fitted us very well into Grixis Storm. The old Great Shot Storm. They would have loved this.
Yeah, it would have been insane in that deck. Like,
Yeah, because you're often sitting with like 5 excess black mana that you couldn't do much.
What did they used? What did they use blue for? I can't even remember. Like draw
what was the name of the card?
Cards, discard 3 at the end of your turn, right?
Yes, and
Preordained and Ponder. Preordained and Ponder.
Yeah, they had to dig for their pieces. I mean, I was only playing Pauper for about a month before Storm was banned, so.
Yeah, they would have. That card would have been insane in their deck. I'm glad that.
Yeah, you often failed with like 5 to 7 black mana in your mana pool, and then you didn't have anything left.
Yeah, and that one's like, because I remember when I would fiddle around with decks like that, you always had to like convert your black or red mana into blue so that you could draw more black or red mana.
Exactly.
But with Read the Bones in that deck, it would have been just like directly convert your black mana into draw. It would have been insane. But I had another one too to talk about.
Oh,
you guys.
Okay.
So, Commune with the Gods.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah.
And that card is 1 green and a colorless sorcery. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or enchantment card from among them into your hand, put the rest into your graveyard.
So to me, this card is just begging to be used with Tortured Existence.
That's what I think too.
I think it's still...
Wasn't it a very similar card in Ravnica? Or what's the difference?
Ravnica has Grizzly Salvage, which is black-green for an instant that does pretty much the same thing, except you can only get a creature from it.
Or a land, I think.
Yeah, creature or a land.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that is Pauper legal, but the thing with Commune the Gods is you can get that Tortured Existence, and you can also bin the creatures, right? So, like, if you Grizzly Salvaged and only one of those cards was a creature or a land, you couldn't necessarily put them into your graveyard the way you wanted to. So, like, if your top 5 cards only revealed, like, a Stinkweed Imp and 4 Doomblades, hypothetical, you had to take the Stinkweed Imp. And those other cards were... this one lets you take either a creature or enchantment, which the Tortured Existence deck often is lacking in drawing the Tortured Existence. And if you can get 5 cards looking just for the Tortured Existence, then you get to get it.
Nice. I heard E. Hustle mentioning that he was going to try to go green-black instead of red-black.
Well, this card just
with
provides additional redundancy for the namesake card. Like, when you don't have Tortured Existence in a Tortured Existence deck, your deck is just kind of a dirtily mid-range deck. And so this card allows you to... I mean, it's not quite 8 copies of Tortured Existence, but it gets you closer to that. Probably closer to, like, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could just be like a Dredge 5 card.
Yeah. I mean, just milling stuff in your own graveyard is already good with in that deck. And they might start playing Grizzly Salvage too. Like, it might be... It's not necessarily... maybe the reason why Grizzly Salvage isn't seeing play in there is not because Grizzly Salvage isn't good enough, but because there's not enough other green stuff to be doing. But now this might give you another reason to further jump into green.
Yep. So the only other thing worth noting here is we have a natural double strike creature, two-headed Cerberus, which is 1 red for a double strike 1/2.
Yeah, he seems good.
It doesn't seem that good. I don't think any deck really wants him, but that is the first natural double strike creature in Pauper.
Is it?
It is.
Are they all uncommon?
Yes, all of the other ones are at least uncommon or rare. So you have a few ways to give your dudes double strike, but they do not naturally have double strike.
Interesting.
Seems like he could be insane and limited.
What was it called? Hound Gristlebrand was an Avacyn Restored, and it was a rare, but it was 2 red for a 2/2 double strike Undying. But well, he was Undying, so he just became a pain in the butt for your opponents to deal with. But that's Avacyn Restored, and that was a crappy format, so nobody really got to see how awesome Hound of Gristlebrand was. So I guess we can talk about or move on to the next topic.
Right.
Are we going to talk about this one now, or do we want to wait? I don't want to go and mention the Pauper Brewers Championship. And Dan, you know probably a little bit more about this than I do.
Yes, Team DBC and MTGO Strat are cooperating in this. So it's sort of extra competition on top of the daily events, as the Pauper's Player Championship was in the August season. So now if you have an original deck, and if you look at this article in the show notes, you'll find a list of criteria for being an original deck. It basically is that it has to be a deck that is not known to be created by somebody else, or a deck that's a tier 1 deck. So if you have that, you can in advance then report to Team DBC about your deck, and then you enter this championship. The promo for the MOX of September is an Underground C. So for 15 QP you get an Underground C, which should be worth a good 30 tickets at least. Plus then you have this. So the one person with the brew that gets the most QP gets from the Vault 20, at least. There might be more prizes. Number 2 gets a commander deck, and number 3 gets some M14 boosters. Also, if you 4-0 with the brew and write about it on MTGO Strat, you get an additional 3 M14 boosters. So this is an opportunity, because the Pauper's Player Championship last month attracted... There was an enormous amount of QPs on a few Temporal Fissure decks, pretty much. And it attracted some attention among the really hardcore grinders. But this is meant to make people brew this month and to sort of attract a wider attention, that more people should feel that they have a chance to win this.
I have a question, Dan, or a couple about it. If you know the answer, I don't know. But
I will try to answer them.
Are they only tracking like brews that appear on the What's Happening page, or are they going to like?
No, they're tracking all of the dailies as they did for the PPC.
So they're going to watch like every single match to see like.
Yes.
Wow.
They did a really big job, Jason and Eric, for last month.
That is insane. And
so like, they pretty much took turns watching the dailies.
Do you have to play your own deck, or if other people play your deck too?
Well, they specifically called you out, David, and saying that if anybody else plays Azorius Kitty, well, everybody knows that's your deck, so nobody can lay claim and say that, hey, this is a brewed deck of mine, So, but I think if you were to play Azorius Kitty, I think that qualifies.
So you have
could
to
also
play
grant the right to Azorius Kitty to one of your champions, if you want to.
So you can grant the right. So if I make a new deck,
but it's an exception, so you have to talk to
So
to
really this is more,
JC84.
it's easier for them to watch the matches because they're going to know who's like in this tournament. And there's probably going to be like, I don't know, 30, 40 people in this thing. And they'll have everyone's name with their associated brew. So they can like go look at to see if the person who 3-1 who's in the tournament like actually played their brew. They just like watch one game and they'll know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. I was wondering if they're going to like watch every single game ever. It seemed like crazy.
I'm sure they would if they had to.
Yeah. So I think this is really cool. This invites a lot of the brewers, like people like Zaki and JPH Snake, to take their brews into daily events, and people have things to brew with now, and a lot of people are just too scared to take the brews into daily events. It's like, well, why am I going to take my brew into a daily event and just go 1-2 drop? Well, now they have a little bit something more to shoot for than just the daily event prizes. Not that the daily event prizes are bad, but I think these are actually it's really cool, giving new incentive to brewed decks.
Yes, absolutely. And I think if you're a brewer with the deck and you want to give it a try, now is the time. This will be going on for 4 weeks, starting on the 4th
Wednesday,
of September.
right?
Yep.
So I guess the other question I would have about it is, what if I take some like a generic blue-black control deck?
Yeah.
And like let's say nobody's been using this particular list, or maybe it's rogue or something. Like if I took a blue-black list and it was only running like 12 creatures to kill you with, but those creatures are like Muldrifter, but nobody's running like generic blue-black control lists right now.
True.
So would that qualify? Do you know?
I think it would, actually. I think they are quite lenient. So as long as you're not playing sort of a teachings list from a daily in 2010 or or Stompy or Delver, then you're pretty good. But as you get the deck approved beforehand, you will know if your deck is okay or not.
All right. Well, we'll put the link to that, and you can also find it on mtgostrat.com. So there we go. That's Pauper Brewers Championship. I guess the other thing I want to talk about before we get into like a main topic here is Justin put out an awesome article called "An Introduction to Competitive Pauper, 2nd Edition."
Yeah, it's pretty unreal.
It's comprehensive.
It's super comprehensive, and one of the things when I first started associating with MTGOstrat.com, I started to do an article sort of like what he did here, where I was trying to cover all the decks and your choices and aggro control and combo control and those sort of things. And what I realized was that the task was just too daunting for me, and I wrote 2 or 3 parts of that article, and I never finished it. But Justin finished it quite, and including I don't even know how many words this is. This has got to be like an incredibly huge amount of words and a lot of time.
I think it is all the words.
Yeah, all the words.
I can't even believe it has like price breakdowns of decks. So if you start getting into this and you're like, well, I want to play like a semi-competitive deck, I think you can like overlay the cost versus like the quality of the deck to find the deck that's like optimally suited for your price range. Like that is something I've never seen before, and it's unbelievable that he did it. And I mean, I'm sure, like I saw someone in the comments was like, Delver is not a control card, so like you should boycott this article. And it's like, have you like look at how much this guy put into it. Like there's gonna be an occasional mistake, but like 99% of this article is like pure gold. And I recommend everyone like go and look at it. And I'm sure if you spot a mistake, like put it in the comments and be nice about it, I'm sure he'll correct it. But it's an unbelievable article, and I think like we should put it on MTGO Strat like immediately if it's not already up there.
We have.
Okay, good.
We have given up on doing our own introduction. We'll just use this one.
Yeah.
Did you notice the matchup table? There are two matchup tables. There's a link to a matchup table where some people have gotten together and put percentages on the matchups. But then there are daily event tracked matches in another Excel sheet. So you have daily event matches between every pauper deck. And you can see that it's not. I think it's updated all the time, and it doesn't have that much data, but you get a really good feeling for the matchups from that document, and it's hidden in a paragraph in the middle of this giant article.
Yeah, it's the amount of just time and energy that must have went into that thing is astounding. Just
and somehow the Pauper Gauntlet managed to get linked to in the middle of it, despite being not very competitive.
Well, I mean, it doesn't need to be all competitive. His article covers everything.
It did. It should have been an introduction to Pauper and not competitive Pauper.
Yeah. Just so that's insane. I have a picture of you guys. So yeah, that'll bring us on to I guess the next thing we're going to talk about is the possible incoming bans, and this is courtesy of MTG Salvation, Justin, and Alex Ullman. So
it's courtesy of Matthew Watkins, right?
Yes. So this is posted on Alex Ullman's Facebook page, though, so we'll just quote that directly here. And the quote here is, "Thanks to Matthew Watkins from Pure MTGO and the 2013 Community Cup team, we have some insight into Wizards and the health of Pauper. As is customary, Wizards met with the Community Cup team about the health of Magic Online, and Matthew, being awesome, brought up Pauper. This is what we now know. Temporal Fissure was originally included in 2013 ban list, but was removed because Wizards okay with seeing quirky Temporal Fissure lists."
That's sick.
They did not anticipate it being combined with Cloud Post to form a dominant strategy.
Surprise.
The letters I have sent, the data provided from tracking events, is being taken into account for upcoming ban announcements, and Wizards is not currently satisfied with Pauper at the moment. So,
continue. He says some interesting stuff after that.
There are some pretty big revelations, which leads me to believe that there will be bans. My honest to goodness guess right now is that we're going to see at least one ban, and that is going to be Cloud Post. If we see a second ban, that is going to be Temporal Fissure. I feel this way because they want to see at least an offbeat Temporal Fissure deck. They can have that without Cloud Post, but not the other way around. I also feel that we as a community need to continue to track the data, myself included, and to make sure things are healthy. The biggest takeaway, though, is item 2, which tells me Wizards has a vision for Pauper, and that makes me very happy. Alrighty. So that's the full quote. What do you think, Dan?
I think he's right, and thanks Matthew Watkins for bringing it up. They also won the Community Cup, so we get the Sliver Queen if you logged in this weekend.
Oh, man, I forgot to do that. Oh, well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no Sliver Queen for you.
Oh, well.
You also missed out on a Rakdos Cackler. Anyway, I think that this is... Cloud Post has needed to be gone from Pauper for a long time. It is banned in Modern for a reason. And as Modern clearly shows, the Ursa lands can do stuff in that sort of direction on their own. So I think Cloud Post needs to go and should have been gone a long time ago.
Yep. So what's interesting here is that... and a lot of people kind of agree with me here, is I think actually Cloud Post is the thing that needs to go, not Fissure. I'm okay with Fissure. I really am. Because you don't see Familiar Storm lists. Familiar Storm is much more easy to interact with than Mono Blue Fissure. You have many ways to kill their stuff. They can't gain their life. They can't gain life off the Glimmer Post, which is huge. So yeah, I think... if anything needs to go, I think it's Cloud Post. And I'm okay with Fissure staying around, actually.
I think it will just be a bomb waiting to happen if it stays around
I
for a
think
new
so too.
deck.
I mean, I mean, I really like Temporal Fissure. I love playing with it, and it allows you to, from a design perspective, to like do sort of wacky stuff, and then if you just generate mana and draw cards, like you can just throw a Temporal Fissure in there, and your deck will probably be like fine. And so I just feel that the card is so much more powerful than what anything else is in Pauper that it it needs to be there. And if we've learned anything from like banning Frantic Search, it's that ultimately Temporal Fissure will just come back. You know, like I think Temporal Fissure should get banned, and we should just get Frantic back because they just misbanned them originally. Like the whole reason that card's gone is Temporal Fissure, and now we're going to lose more stuff. And if Temporal Fissure stays, then we'll probably in the future lose more stuff when someone figures out another way to break it. So,
But isn't the Frantic mechanism on Cloud of Fairies, etc., this it's just begging to be broken anyway, even without Fissure?
well, that's probably true, but if you lose Cloud Post and you lose Fissure, there's not very many ways to do it. It's a, and I don't think there's anything like worth doing it for, really.
Not if you get rid of those two. I guess you can like do some sweet ramp decks and try and Cloud of Fairies and torch them for 20.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could try to like get infinite mana and stuff. But I feel like if you pull that off, that's like more power to you.
Yeah, I think that's just too cute and too easy to disrupt. Which is why I also think like, I don't think banning Fissure's the answer. I think the Cloud Post is the issue. Cloud Post is what makes the deck really dominant. The Glimmer Post gives them extra life, and the mono blue shell that they're allowed to have with the Cloud Post there is makes them much more consistent and harder to disrupt as well. See, because one of the things with Familiar Storm is the combo is very, very, very easy to break, and it's very easy to just die before you assemble the combo because they don't gain the life off the Glimmer Posts. And I've played Familiar Storm quite a bit, and that's the biggest problem with it. And the reason that I don't like playing it in dailies is, Stompy kills it before it gets online, Delver Fiend kills it before it gets online, and just mono blue Delver decks, they counter the right things or spell starter the right things, and you just lose. Also, land destruction is completely crippling to Familiar Storm. If they Stone Rain your Azorius Chancery, you're dead. You're done. You lost that game.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter against Cloud Post.
Yeah, Cloud Post, they'll just I'll get another Cloud Post eventually, right? But the tempo loss from getting your Azorius Chancery or Dimir Aqueduct destroyed or bounced is just huge. You cannot come back from that. And even if you ghostly flicker that land to save it, then you have to bounce another land, so you lose a lot of tempo anyway.
Yeah, that deck definitely didn't exist really post ban. I mean, it did. It still sort of lingers because it's still got a really good Cloud Post Fissure Post matchup. But that's its only real benefit to over Cloud Post, and I think it'll still if Fissure still Fissure still exists, it'll still kind of linger around, but I don't think it'll be dominant or anything.
No, it most certainly will not be a dominant strategy. And players much better than me, I've seen them go, 0-2 drop, 1-2 drop. And I always see that when I'm playing on dailies, it's like, hey, Ministered by Angels is playing this daily event. So what's funny with the Familiar Storms is, the Familiar Storm list is they either go 4-0 or they go 0-2 drop. There's no in between for those lists. And you'll see that if you keep track of the dailies.
They probably have a lot of hard matchups in the 0-1 bracket that they want to avoid.
Yeah.
So if they lose the first match, they're gone.
Yeah. But they are a little bit faster than the mono blue Fissure lists, which leads me to believe that the blue post, the mono blue Storm Post lists they just have a much better long game than Familiar Storm does. And much easier ways to interact in the early game too.
I would prefer to see both cards gone and possibly a couple of others. So I hope that they are not too lenient in this banning, but I would rather they come down hard.
Yep. So I'll put the link to this thread in here, but a little bit of a Heroes Web thing. You get a lot of people, not to steal from Pauper the People here, but you get a lot of interesting responses from people about
when
what
is
should
the
you
banning?
ban. When is the banning?
Do we know the date
don't know.
of the banning?
We don't know. I really wish that they were more upfront about that, but they weren't.
But I think there is an official date for the sort of standard modern Commander banning announcement.
I don't know if you guys find that, feel free to include that or link it to me.
Yep.
What if these two cards were to go? What decks do you think would sort of take over? I mean, this is sort of really, really hypothetical. Well, hypothetical, but what?
I would be quite comfortable playing Trinket for sure. Azorius Kitty looks like quite a good thing. I think mid-range would attack on a wide front.
Yeah, I think blue-black Trinket control it was actually starting to gain a little bit of steam before David really started playing a Simic Stormpost. And that started taking over the dailies. And
thank you, David.
You're welcome.
it was actually garnering a little bit of steam, and I think that deck becomes much more playable, as in 900% more playable, because you don't have to dodge matchups anymore if those two things go. Man, I'm sorry, I got distracted by the comments here.
Maybe the old teachings Jameer control decks would be feasible again.
Yeah, they certainly would be, because a lot of these the teachings control lists, they just lost because blue-red Cloudpost was just a better deck as far as control decks went. So,
and mono black will have a second coming. I'm sure.
I think the biggest thing gained from a ban of Fissure and Cloudpost is you get to have board control decks back.
Yes.
So mono black control, blue black Trinket control, Azorius Kitty, all these types of decks are the decks that want to control the board. Whereas things like more hand control and counter control type decks would actually lose here, because the format was going to speed up a bit, I think, if Fissure's gone, which seems really weird. But counter spells will lose a lot of steam if nobody can play these hardcore control decks.
Where do you think Delver ends up? Do you think it's
I think Delver will always be sort of the keeper of the format. Delver will always be there. An influx of a large number of control decks will be bad for Delver, but there are so many good players playing Delver, and they will find a way to cope with it.
Yeah, and a lot of these decks have answers to Delver. They can't be played right now. Right, you can't play blue-black Trinket control, even though it actually has a pretty solid Delver matchup, because Fissure's still there and Cloudpost is still there. So I think Delver actually goes down a bit in the meta. I think the only reason that it's so popular right now is that it has a good Fissure matchup.
Delver will keep the combo decks honest in the future.
Yeah, and that's something that Delver always does. Where are we at right now? I gotta check the metagame as far as
I want to mention a deck I'm having a lot of fun with in the Pauper Gauntlet called Love Train by J.P. Snake. But he has actually done some playtesting in the last few days. It's a freed from the real combo deck, and I know what you feel about them, David. But his data looks very interesting now.
I don't mind.
And he beat me.
Combo deck. I just think that I don't even know what I think about them. The issue I have with the deck is more that it's just pretty easy to stop.
Yeah, it's the whole idea with Love Train is that there is so much synergy and stuff built in, so you can actually fail on the free from the real part and it doesn't matter that much. There's so many other things you can do, and it's
Yeah.
working quite nice actually.
I believe it. His decks always, every time I see them, there's like other levels of depth to them that I can't immediately see from just looking at the deck list. Like it's when a lot of people brew, it's like, oh, like I get what you're doing. Here it is, like on the surface. His stuff always has like weird stuff going on. I'm like, why is this here? And then when you actually see it play out, you're like, whoa, that was very interesting and pretty impressed right now. Like the Springleaf drums and his what deck is that? The Icy Hot Hottie or
I see
whatever.
how hard, yeah, yes.
I'm like, what is the purpose of these? But they like serve this like very bizarre purpose of allowing you to evoke things, then tap the evoked creature to then like
To then
flicker
cast your
it.
Undying Evil.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
Undying Evil. And it's stuff like that. I just don't. I have.
Do you have a link
faith
to that, Dan?
So I see hard, yes.
Well, not to Love Train or Icy Hot Hottie.
I can give you links to both of them.
And I love that he's
I would
playing
include
Train of
those
Thought
in the-
too, because I think that card is just
I think your article actually inspired him to make Love Train, David.
yeah.
whenever
I
you
think
wrote about.
I remember him saying that. That card is just it's just so good. It's unbelievably good. It just like doesn't really fit what's going on in the meta right now. Like if
Yeah.
you could build if it was like control deck on control deck, like Train of Thought would be everywhere or should be. That card.
So why isn't Blue Red Cloud Post running it?
I told you it's blue mana, right?
Yeah, I would say that's why. Like the biggest reason
Wow.
why is they don't have it, and also because I think that it's just not fast enough, probably, and they don't run into control mirrors very often. It's like the type of card that would just blow a control mirror like wide open because you can't copy or you can't counter the copies. So
Yeah.
it's just pretty much whoever resolves one first wins in a blue-red Cloud Post mirror, even though they don't have a ton of blue mana.
I'm gonna have to check out this Train of Thought thing. Alrighty. So, man, we just got totally derailed on the topic here.
It's all the love from the love train.
So, what all is remaining in the Gauntlet, Dan?
I'll tell you. 5-color green, Shift Force, really strange deck. Sort of the
Wow.
grandfather of Azorius Kitty. Allies!
Really, they 2-0'd?
Yeah. 3-color ally deck. Delver Fiend 2-1, Mono Black Infect 2-1. Illusory Tricks. Mono Blue Control. Stompy. Goblins. White Weenie. Defeated Mono Blue Stormpost.
Wait, we did?
Wow.
Yes. Somehow.
Like, so the single deck that's preventing White Weenie from actually being a thing in the metagame, White Weenie beat.
Yeah, War Falcons, Bone Splitters, it was fast. Trinket, Simic Stormpost, Simic Enchantment Storm, Love Train, Red Green Tempo, Land Destruction, and Hexproof, and Boros Kitty. Those are the 15 decks that still remain.
Nice.
I like my chances. Not that I have Simic Stormpost on the bet, but I'm betting on it in my heart.
Yeah, it's. I believe Simic Stormpost has a pretty good chance too.
Plus, you know how to play it really well too, which is I feel like super key.
Not
Yes.
really well, but better than I knew Azorius Kitty.
No, I'm not like poking it down in general, but I just imagine it's very difficult to like pick up these decks you've never seen before, and then just try to win with them. Like,
That was the reason
it's very difficult.
I got the idea to do the Gauntlet actually because I was playing so many different Pauper decks, so I thought I had this like ability to play 100 different Pauper decks, but some decks were really hard to play here, and I
yeah.
did screw up many a time.
I think you can probably, when you're just like any general person pick up like some random deck and pilot it to like about 80% proficiency. It's the other 20% that like separates the really good players from everyone, like of that deck from everyone else, because there's all these little like nuances and stuff that you're just not going to see immediately.
I have learned a lot about Pauper in these 72 matches so far.
Yeah, I'm sure you've gotten a lot better as a player just by having to figure out the best lines every turn, and there's no repetition or no just falling back on things you've done over and over again. Because I know one of the reasons why I like to switch decks is because I tend to get stagnated in the same lines all the time.
True. I think Rocky Horror, the red-black torture resistant deck, was the hardest one to play. By far.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've always said is playing other decks makes you better at realizing what those other decks need to win. So if you can assemble these decks and playtest with them, even if you're just playtesting in like the tournament practice room or even just for fun room, you learn a lot when you play these decks. Like I have Delver Fiend deck put together that I'll never ever play in a daily event because I hate the deck, but I understand what's really needed to make that deck work.
I think this is really one of the strengths of Pauper as a format, that you can do this.
Yeah.
Much easier than any other format.
Yeah, and I do the same thing with like Is It Post. I've got a couple of Is It Post decks put together that I've tested out, Affinity. So you really start to get a feel for what these decks need to win, and that's incredibly powerful to know.
Yeah.
Gives you a huge edge in daily events if you can do that. So the metagame right now, 19% Delver, guys. 19%
nice.
Delver.
Yeah.
So if you want to win daily events, play Stompy.
You know that something is sick when the cure is all around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, blues everywhere.
Blues everywhere. So play Stompy, I think.
Yeah, sounds like a good call.
Play Stompy. In particular, play one of the sweet techs that Stompy's picked up recently is Riverboa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be playing a lot of that.
Yeah.
I don't know very much about Stompy, so I don't want to be like a huge advocate on it or anything, but I would definitely be looking to play as many Riverboas as possible over like the other two drops like Garrick's Companion stuff.
Alright, so that's an interesting argument there, but Dan, what do you think about Stompy?
There are some cards in Stompy that are very very anti-controlish that you don't need right now, like the Ledge Walkers and perhaps even the Young Wolves. So you definitely have room for boas. And I know you like the companions.
I do like the companions, but I like the companions for a different reason. The companions are awesome because they just bash through fairies and they can't be chumped. They're also really good against Affinity, because if you pump your companion with like a Vines of Vastwood or whatever, then you get to bash through a Mirror Enforcer and still deal them damage.
Nice.
That being said, Riverboa is huge right now because Delver's 19% of the metagame, and the way that Delver beats you as a Stompy player is they get a Spire Golem down, and they block you while their fairies and their Delver beat you down in the air. So to combat this, a lot of the Stompy lists are now running main deck Scattershot Archers and Riverboas.
Oh,
so,
that hurts.
Yeah, they just destroy Delver, because if they have the main deck Scattershot Archers pretty much shuts down Delver by itself, and if you throw in Riverboas there, then not even the Spire Golem saves you.
All right.
And, I thought this was something for a while that was going to catch on, right? People were going to start playing Riverboas because, Delver's 15 to 19% of the metagame. And that's the reason I've been keeping Piracy Charm in my Delver list. Because Piracy Charm is like the one thing that kills Riverboa.
Oh.
Yeah. That card has an amazing amount of versatility. Surprising how good it is.
Yeah.
True.
It's like even in your worst matchups, it's a mutagenic growth. which can kill them.
Yeah. Or just make
It
them
did.
discard.
Yeah.
The same thing happened when Storm was really rampant about a year ago. Then Delver was everywhere, and Stompy began playing Scattershot Archers and Riverboas.
Yeah, and it's the right choice right now because nobody's playing Piracy Charm, and except me, and heck, even Mazel has moved away from Piracy Charm. It's in his Delver list.
Yeah, to Deprives, which looks slow, but
Yeah, but I actually played against Mezel in a daily event, one of the daily events that I played in the past week.
yeah.
And I was playing Stompy, and he beat me. I actually misplayed and mis-sideboarded, but he did beat me, and it was 2-1 in a very, very close third game, I think.
Oh,
But
was it because of Deprive?
Deprive kind of made things. He did deprive a key card once, but I don't think it would have been that much different than what he would have done otherwise.
Right.
Like I don't think it was because of the deprive that he won. I think just having a generic counterspell at that time was fine too. And he may have had it in his hand. I don't know. He had like 5 or 6 cards in his hand, so he could have also had the counterspell in his hand there.
Yeah.
Oh man, excuse me.
What's up with the return of Hexproof? Suddenly,
I think that's mostly from Deluxikov playing it, right?
I don't know. I think it's
suddenly
just,
Ancestral Mass costs 9 tickets.
Oh, it
I
costs
don't know
so
what
much.
it is. I don't think that there's much reasoning for it myself.
I thought
Like,
that
it
Delver
seems-
Fiend was like dominating Hexproof, that people who played Hex should play Delver Fiend.
I think that
Yeah.
just makes more sense because Delver Fiend can actually beat Fissure too, but Hexproof really can't. I think people think that it can, but it can't. So
Yeah, it's because they just fissure all the enchantments and
yeah, or the lands. Like once, like yeah, you can get your Hexproof guys that have Hexproof, but it doesn't really matter when they play a bunch of Mold Drifters and stuff on one turn and return all your lands and all your enchantments. Like you just can't win fast enough.
yeah,
One of the things that makes Hexproof actually a good deck is that you can race a lot of stuff with Armadillo Cloaks and whatnot, but against Fissure, Armadillo Cloaks just 3 mana for like 2/2 buff, which is not too great. And the mana is a little bit weird. You don't have Ponder and Preordain to smooth things out, so I would just rather play.
yeah. Just
Delver Fiend.
play Delver Fiend. I think
Yeah.
we're covered there. I think Delver Fiend even beats all the matchups that Hexproof normally beats.
Yeah, a lot of them. I don't know all of those matchups myself, but it
I think
seems like
Hexproof has a lot better Delver matchup than Delver Fiend has.
Yeah, that could
That's
be
true.
true. But even that's not really that strong of a matchup for them.
No, it's a lot stronger than Delver Fiend's.
Yeah. Delver Fiend just gets. I always love seeing Delver Fiend when I'm playing Delver. I'm like, yes, it's a buy.
I know I might have asked this before, but what is up with Mono Blue Control? What do you win against with Mono Blue Control?
That's a great question. I don't know
5%
either.
of the meta. Like, people are 4-0ing all the time with Mono Blue Control.
Where
So-
are all the daily events too? That's the other question I want to know.
Yeah, they haven't updated since the 30th.
Oh wow, they haven't. I'm gonna keep track of that. That's weird. So-
I think they got drunk at the community cap and toppled the server.
Too much Viking influence, probably.
Probably.
When they nominated you for the community cup, everybody's like, "Yeah, Dan's nominated. Drink."
And that's why I couldn't come.
Yeah, 'cause then it would just gotten out of hand.
They remember my last visit to their office back in '96.
Yeah. So what's kind of cool about Mono Blue Control, and I've played with it, played and tested it quite a bit. What's really cool about the deck is that it has a good Delver matchup, I think, and in most of your Delver matchups, when you're playing Delver, you win with the Delver of Secrets or the Spire Column, which is how you win with Mono Blue Control. So I think it's just different approaches to the way that they're looking at controlling the deck. Both of them can play like hardcore tempo decks, right? Because a flip Delver from either deck on turn 2 is gonna be a very, very quick clock. I think they just go about it different ways. One deck goes about it with Ninja the Deep Hours, and the mono blue control decks go about it with Think Twices and Uno's Graces and repeals and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think it's just sort of like a matter of preference, I believe.
I know it has big problems with Stompy.
I think mono blue control is a better matchup against Stompy than your standard Delver Fairy list.
Is it? When you played mono blue control, he was always talking about how to survive the Stompy matchup. It was like his biggest subject. Okay.
I say it's still gonna be a hard matchup for either list. So one of the things that I recently leveled up on was basically from David's article is the way that Stompy really beats Delvers. They build out instead of up. Right? They're playing a whole bunch of 2/2s that, and you can't counter them all because they have 4 of them that they can cast. So they cast 1 on turn 1. You can't counter that because it's turn 1. They cast 2 on turn 2. You can only counter 1 of them, but then they've got 4 power on the board, and you're like, ugh, how am I going to beat this? Well, I have to wait till the next turn to cast the Spire Golem, and they pump their dude to kill your Spire Golem, and you're like, oh, crap. Well, now I just lose. So
they out-tempo the tempo deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. They just go under it somehow. Even though, like, for a lot of decks, by the time, like, they can untap with the spell stutter, it's, like, over. But Stompy's so cheap with so many 2Xs or whatever, 2 power guys for 1
Stompy
mana.
is surprisingly resilient against everything. I was playing Green Post against Stompy in the Gauntlet, and I thought, I have all these walls and stuff, I'm so safe. But then he managed to get the Howl Pack onto a Pit Skulk, and then I had no answer to that.
Nope.
So I couldn't block the Pit Skulk with any wall, and
so
I lost.
I think I've talked about this before, but Stompy plays out much more like a tempo deck than an aggro deck. So you have to know when to use your cards at the exact right times to get the most value out of them. But then again, sometimes it just plays like a straight up aggro deck where you play a bunch of dudes and you turn them sideways and you beat the Fissure player before they can do anything.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of skill involved.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too that Dan always says is that he can't play Stompy because it's incredibly difficult to play.
It is the deck on this list. I'm looking at MTG Goldfish top 12 decks, and Stompy is the list I played the most. I played almost 100 matches with Stompy, and it's definitely the most complicated out of these 12 decks I'm looking at here.
Yeah, it's and I know when I played Stompy twice this week, and I think both the times that I 1/2 dropped were with Stompy, and the 0-2 drops were from Delver and Simic Stormposter. Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? I think both the times I could have won. So yeah, but I still think Stompy is the right choice to be playing right now. You're gonna beat Delver. You're gonna beat Fissure. So play Stompy. It's good to go.
Words of wisdom from Competitive Pauper Cast. Play green, guys.
Alrighty, guys. Let's move towards closing this out.
Okay.
David, how can we contact you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Shafawaffa5. Or you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shafawaffa5. Or you can just contact me on MTGO, Shafawaffa5.
Alright, sweet. And Dan?
You can find me on YouTube, Magic Gathering Strat. You can find me on mtgostrat.com. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Horning. How do people contact you, Chris?
Oh, I don't remember. Okay, you can contact Twitch. Okay, I stream on Twitch sometimes at Magic Gathering Strat, or twitch.tv/Magic Gathering Strat. You can contact me on Twitter at cweaver8518 or an MTGO at cweaver is my username. This has been a Competitive Pauper Cast episode 4. Thank you, David and Dan, for joining me again. And we'll talk to you
Thanks,
guys again
guys.
next week.
Sure.
Yes.
It's fun.